Hello, everyone, and welcome back. What if I told you one secret CIA operation in 1953 did not just topple a democracy, it planted the seeds for the actual shooting war between the US and Iran that's exploding across headlines right now in 2026? Missiles raining down, a supreme leader is assassinated, the Strait of Hormuz blockade, partially or completely, failed peace talks in Islamabad, and then again peace talks started, thousands dead, global oil prices are spiking, and the world holding its breath. This isn't random. This is the long shadow of Operation Ajax, the 1953 coup that CIA and MI6 used to overthrow Iran's elected prime minister. So, the declassified documents proved it. Bribery, fake protests, propaganda, all to grab control of the oil. Today, we are connecting the dots from those dusty Tehran streets, 1953, straight to the 2026 war. That trust deficit that was born then is the reason every US Iran negotiation fails today. Stick around. The final 5 minutes will rewire how you see the entire Middle Eastern crisis. Hit like if you're ready for the full story, and let's dive in. Picture Iran in the early 1950s. World War II is over, the Cold War is heating up, and Iran sits on one of the world's biggest oil treasures. But here is the catch. British companies, specifically the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, controlled almost everything. They drilled the oil, they shipped it, then they sold it, and the Iran got crumbs, like 16% of the profits, while Britain got rich. Here enters the Dr. Mohammad Mossadegh. The guy wasn't some radical revolutionary. He was an aristocrat. He was educated in Europe, a lawyer, and a passionate nationalist. In 1951, he gets elected as a prime minister in a landslide victory. His big move was nationalizing the oil industry. This oil belongs to Iran, he declared, and people went wild. Mossadegh became the hero overnight for everyone, the man who finally stood up to the British Empire. The Britons freaked out. They slapped on a total embargo. No one could buy oil from Iran. The economy collapsed, people starved, inflation skyrocketed. And Mossadegh turned to the US for help, saying, "We are not communists. We are just taking back what is ours." President Truman actually felt some sympathy, but then Eisenhower came in 1953. The new team and the Secretary of the State, John Foster Dulles, and his brother Allen Dulles, head of the CIA, saw it differently. Cold War paranoia was at its peak. They feared Mossadegh was too weak and that Iran could fall into Soviets' hands. Plus oil, America wanted in. So the British MI6 and American CIA teamed up. Code name for the Brits was Operation Boot, and for Americans was Ajax. Their goal was overthrow Mossadegh and put the young Shah Mohammad Raza Pahlavi back in real power with a pro-Western puppet government. Leading the charge on the ground, Kermit Roosevelt Jr., the grandson of President Theodore Roosevelt. This guy was CIA's golden boy. He flew into Tehran with suitcases full of cash, hundreds and thousands of US dollars, and he started buying influence like it was a Black Friday. But the real architect was sitting in Washington. His name was Allen Dulles, the director of the CIA. This is the same man who, in very same year of 1953, personally approved and launched Project MKUltra. If you want to know more about MKUltra, you can go back and watch my video on MKUltra. Project MKUltra was the CIA's notorious mind control experiments involving LSD, hypnosis, and torture techniques. And that project involves American and Canadian citizens. One guy green lighting a foreign coup to topple a democracy and domestic programs that sound like dystopian sci-fi. The Ajax plan was straight out of a spy novel. They bribed newspaper editors, radio stations, and even religious leaders. Suddenly, stories everywhere claimed that Mossadegh was a secret communist or plotting to steal the Shah's throne. They hired thugs to stage fake communist rights to make him look like he was losing control. Bribery was given to army generals, politicians, tribal leaders, mullahs, anyone with power got paid off. The Shah, the young king, was scared. Kermit Roosevelt personally smuggled himself into the palace for secret midnight meetings. He basically told the Shah, sign the decree firing Mossadegh or lose everything. Alan Dulles was overseeing the whole operation from Langley. August 15, 1953, nighttime raid on Mossadegh's house. An army colonel showed up with royal decree. Mossadegh refuses it and arrests the colonel instead. The plot leaks, the Shah panics and flees the country to Rome in his pajamas. Kermit Roosevelt is in a safe house. His bosses in Washington are ready to pull the plug. The first attempt is a total disaster. Mossadegh thinks he's won, but Roosevelt did not quit. He uses the next few days to regroup with more bribes and more propaganda. On August 19, it explodes. Pro-Shah crowds, many of them paid mobsters, appear everywhere. Tanks roll in, army units flip. They storm Mossadegh's residence, gunfire erupts, over 300 people die in the street fighting. Mossadegh is captured. The next day, General Zahedi is installed as a prime minister. The Shah flies back from Rome as a hero. Mossadegh is put on trial, sentenced to house arrest, and dies in 1967. The CIA's own declassified history literally says the coup was carried out under CIA's direction as an act of US foreign policy. Kermit Roosevelt later bragged about it in his book Counter Coup. And Alan Dulles, the director of CIA, he called it a major victory. On paper, the mission was accomplished. Oil flowed again. American companies got a huge slice. The Shah got stronger, backed by billions in US aid and weapons. Iran became America's closest ally in the region. But underneath, resentment boiled. The Shah's secret police, SEVAK, crashed dissent. Corruption grew. In 1953, Coup became living proof of Iranians that democracy was just a Western game. Foreign powers could topple your elected leader whenever they wanted oil or anti-communist points. By 1979, it exploded, the Islamic Revolution. Ayatollah Khomeini and millions of Iranians overthrew the Shah. Death to America wasn't random, it was rooted in the memory of Ajax. The US Embassy hostage crisis all tied back to 1953. The trust deficit became Iran's national DNA. Every future US promise, just sign a deal, we'll lift sanctions, gets met with the same thought. Remember Ajax, you overthrew our democracy once, why wouldn't you do it again? Iran built a nuclear program and a web of proxies, not just for power, but as an insurance against the next coup. Even Madeleine Albright later admitted that intervention was a setback for domestic government. Historians call it classic blowback. Fast forward to right now 2026. US and Israel launched massive strikes in Operation Epic Fury. They hit nuclear sites, missile bases, and assassination of their supreme leader Ali Khamenei himself, along with senior commanders. Thousands dies, Iran fires back with waves of missiles and drones, and the Strait of Hormuz gets tightened and partially shut down, sending global oil prices through the roof. A fragile 2-week ceasefire gets in with the help of Pakistan. High stakes talks are happening right now, and they were happening last week as well. The highest level direct engagement since 1979. Sometimes these talks collapse, sometimes they become successful. So the main question is the nuclear enrichment remains the sticking point. Why does this keep happening? The 1953 trust deficit. Iran looks at every US demand, give up enrichment or else, and sees 1953 replaying, foreign powers deciding who runs their country and toppling leaders they do not like. The US sees Iran nukes and proxies as an existential threat, but refuses to acknowledge how Ajax created the deep paranoia that fuels them. It is a vicious cycle. One coup in 1953, revolution in 1979, decades of sanctions and shadow wars, full-blown in 2026 conflict with assassinations, closed shipping lanes, and collapsed talks Every failed negotiation proves the wound never healed. Iranian says you broke our democracy once, we won't let you break us again. Americans say they are too paranoid to deal. The ghost of Allen Dulles, Kermit Roosevelt, and Operation Ajax is literally in the room every time diplomats sit down. So, was Operation Ajax a success? Short term, yes. Long term, it birthed the Islamic Republic, the death to America worldview, and the exact mistrust exploding into war today. One covert op, overseen by the same man running MKUltra, created a trust deficit so deep it survives regime changes, revolutions, and generations. What do you think? Is the 2026 conflict just history repeating, or can the US and Iran ever break this cycle? Thank you very much for watching. This is Dr. Adeel, and you are watching In Focus with Dr. Adeel.